Hello, Year 10 students. Welcome to another video, and today I'm going to talk about something quite different. We're going to talk about A Passage to Africa by George Alagiah. All right, I'll talk to you a little bit about George Alagiah and who he is as a person, and we will speak also about the Passage to Africa altogether. We will have this lesson before our online lesson or our face-to-face lesson. So make sure you've got your notebooks ready, you've got your textbook ready, because the passage in Africa or A Passage to Africa is on your textbooks as well. So the lesson objective is to read a variety of non-fiction texts and to summarize the main points of a text. We've done and we've dealt with summaries last year, but this year I'm going to remind you of how to write a summary. So please write the title and the lesson objectives. Off you go. We'll come back. So moving on to the next slide, we have homework feedback. And the homework feedback, we're going to be online in the live session. I'm going to give you the feedback based on the homework that you've submitted. So I have read all what you've submitted and I'll give you your feedback when we are live together. Okay, I've read everything you've submitted and I'm happy with it. All right, I'm going to give you feedback and we're going to have some remarks, okay, that I've noticed on your writings. I understand that you had a very long holiday and some of you are not really yet into writing, but I'm going to give you my feedback and you need to focus on the remarks that I've written as well. All right, moving on to the next slide. A Passage to Africa, okay, textbook on page 103, okay, 103, go to the textbook, go to that page, excuse me, BBC Newcastle, George Alagiah. All right, that's the guy that we're going to talk about today. All right, off you go, get your textbooks ready. Welcome back. Now, let's talk a little bit about background and context. Let's speak about George Alagiah. Okay, he was born in Sri Lanka, something that you need to know. But when he was 5 years old, his family moved to live in West Africa. Okay, in West Africa. He now lives in the United Kingdom, in the UK, and works as a newscaster for the BBC. Now, this passage comes from his book, A Passage to Africa. All right, that's the passage that we will read together. Okay, it's from the whole book, A Passage to Africa. Okay, in this autobiography, all right, and you know what autobiography is. An autobiography is when you write about yourself, okay, to people. Okay, a biography is when someone writes about you to other people. Okay, so if there is an interesting or a famous person that you want to write about, that's a biography. Okay, you can do it freely or you can ask for an authorized biography. All right, and an autobiography is when you write about yourself, is when someone writes about themselves. Just like George Alagiah, he wrote about himself in A Passage to Africa, and that's an autobiography. Today we will read a passage from that autobiography. He writes about his life and experiences as a TV reporter working mainly across Africa. Now, in this extract, it means this passage that we will read together, he writes about a report he made when he was covering the civil war in Somalia for the BBC. All right, so this is a quick background and introduction of what and of the context of what we will read together. So you need to have an idea of what we will read and of the passage as well. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Read through the text alone. Okay, read through the text and make sure you understand all the terminologies and the events in the text. Okay, so make sure you write things like the civil war in Somalia began in 1991 or in the 90s. You get what I mean? Write words like the words that I've written before with their definitions. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. I want you to go through the text. Okay, read it. Underline or highlight the words that you don't understand, that you find them difficult. Try to find their definitions. Okay, use a dictionary if you have to, or use context clues. Okay, find the clues around the word to understand what they mean, and then write them down. All right, and especially make the bullet points about the events of the text. Okay, what happened in the text, just write it as bullet points. The civil war in Somalia began in 1991. That's a bullet point that I wrote for you. Okay, off you go, finish your work and come back. We'll come back. Now, after understanding the text, now you've got a clear idea of what the text is about. When we meet on the live lesson, on the live session, I'm going to ask you questions about the texts and I'm going to test your understanding, all right? But after that, I will want you to write a summary. But now that's what I want you to do if you've understood the text, okay? Summarize the text so that you will remember the main points of in the examination, all right? In the examination, you will have to remember certain points, okay? If you can summarize the text now, it will not be very hard for you to remember them later on, okay? So try to understand that there are reading strategies that you need to go through, all right? Those reading strategies vary from a text to another. However, if you can predict from the title what you will read, so that's predicting. If you can predict and ask questions, what will happen next? Who is this guy doing here? Why did he use this word? Why did he use this statement? Predicting, questioning, monitoring or clarifying. You will clarify the questions that you've asked, okay? And then evaluating, you will evaluate and check whether what you've seen or what you've thought of is what you will see in the next paragraph. You understand? You evaluate the actions and the characters involved, and then you can summarize. Only then you can summarize. So these are the reading strategies, and this is the pattern that you need to go through to summarize your text. Okay, so you predict, you question, you monitor or clarify, and then you evaluate. After that, you come up with the summary, and it will be easier for you to summarize to others. Just like watching a movie. If you're watching a movie right now, the first thing you'll say is, who is that character? You understand? And you start questioning, right? So that's question. You start predicting, or maybe he will go to that place. Maybe he will go to that place. You understand what I mean? Maybe that's the evil guy. Maybe that's the good guy. Maybe he will save the day. Maybe he will not. Do you understand? So you start coming up with these predictions, guesses, and you start questioning as well. All right. What you will do as well is clarifying. You'll say, oh, no. He didn't do it. He's not the bad guy. He's the good guy. So you will monitor and clarify. You will focus on the characters and you will try to see whether your questions and the answers to the questions were right or wrong. Okay. Then what you'll do, you evaluate. Do you understand? You will evaluate the actions. When did those actions happen in those periods of times, and why were those characters, present in those periods of times as well, or in those places? So after you evaluate, you will get a clear picture of what the movie is about, what the text is about, what the novel is about, what the book is about, what the autobiography is all about, what the passage is about. Okay, when that happens, you are in a position to summarize it to me or to anyone else. Okay, and remember, summary is not giving me every single detail. You understand? The summary is not that. If I ask you to summarize a 2 hours 30 minutes movie, you're not going to speak to me for 2 hours 30 minutes. You understand? And tell me about every single details, but you will instead, right, summarize it in 4 to 5 minutes. All right. So that's what summary is all about. I'm going to remind you of how to summarize in the next slide. So bear with me. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about summarizing. The first step you need to do is skim the text. Go through the text, skim it. You already know the difference between skimming and scanning, all right? So skim the text and go through the text, all right? The second step is underline the most important details, okay? Underline those details. It can be 7 details, 8 details, 12 details, all right? That are very important. Underline those bullet points, underline those details. After that, I want you to cover the original text, okay, and rewrite each main point in your own words. So go back to those details that you've highlighted, that you've underlined. Try to paraphrase them. Try to change them to your own words. Okay, keep the main idea, yeah, or paraphrase. By paraphrase, I mean change the words. Okay, use your own words. My father drives the car. My dad rides the vehicle. Do you understand? Use your own words. All right, keep the meaning, but use your own words. That's very important in summarizing. The fourth step is combine all paraphrased points into a neatly constructed paragraph. How do you combine them? You use connectives. All right, although, furthermore, also, all right, the fanboys, yet, also, but, okay? So try to use the connectives in order to combine all of these paraphrased points or paraphrased bullet points or details, and create your own paragraph. Okay, and it's one paragraph because it's a summary, okay, of 3 to 4 paragraphs. All right, so I've given you here a couple of points, all right, that I've just explained. Go through them and read them, all right, and then start with your summary. All right, I hope that explained what the summary is all about. You've got roughly 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Go for it. Off you go. We'll come back. Now, I'll give you feedback in the live session. Okay, when we are live together, I'm going to check your points. I'm going to check your main points. Okay, so we will check the main points that you've written, and we will add any ideas that you've missed. We can all check them all together. We can share our points, and we will just delete those points we don't need, and we will keep the points that we need for our summary. Okay, when we do that, we will paraphrase and then we write a summary. If you've already written your summary, I'm going to give you feedback as well. All right. Now, the lesson will finish by then. Okay, when the lesson finishes, I want you to know that you've got a homework to do. Okay, the homework is going to be very easy and very simple and very fun as well. So the first thing that I want you to do in this homework, I want you to find some information about George Alagiah. Okay, find some information about him. You can go through the internet, Google it. You can find anything anywhere, all right, about George. You can look at the BBC website, for example. You can go anywhere. Number 2, find something about the civil war in Somalia. Okay, very important as well. Find something about the civil war in Somalia. Read about it, which began in the 90s or in 1991. All right, number 3, write down your ideas on the following. Okay, write down your ideas on the following. So it's a little research that I want you to do. Why do you think people watch news on television? Okay, why do you think people watch news on television? All right, do you watch the news on television? If you don't, why not? Answer these questions. Very important as well for the next lesson. Have you ever watched a news program reporting a war or a humanitarian crisis? All right, have you seen that before? Have you seen someone reporting a war? Okay, a news program where someone is reporting a war. Okay, it can be an earthquake, can be famine, anything that is very terrifying. You understand? What do you remember about it and the effect it had on you? Okay, as a listener, all right, as a reader. Okay, now does television reporting of terrible events such as floods, earthquakes, all the events that you see on television help the people who are suffering? Okay, if we report those things, right, those terrifying events that happen, you understand, does that help the people that are suffering? So this is the question that I want you to answer. I want you to go through these questions and try to read them again and again and try to answer them based on a research that I want you to make. When you do that, this is going to be given back to me when we are face to face. So when you finish this, you understand, not by the end of this lesson, but by the end of the day, by the end of tomorrow, I will meet you face to face, and I want you to give me this homework so we can discuss it together. Okay, so the summary is for the live session and this homework is for the next lesson. All right, thanks a lot. This is all for today. I hope you've understood everything that I've presented, and I hope you followed my instructions. Thank you so much, and see you in the live session. Cheers.